I wasn't expecting anyone that evening. The sky outside was heavy with the kind of rain that never quite starts, the air thick and humming with quiet. I'd just finished another long day working from home, half-empty mug of tea on the table, soft music playing in the background, the glow of the laptop fading. And then came the knock. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe a neighbor, maybe delivery. But when I opened the door, it was her. "Hey," she said, voice bright against the dull air. "I'm Maya. I just moved in across the hall." She couldn't have been more than 25. Dark hair still damp from the mist, wearing a denim jacket over a plain t-shirt, eyes that smiled before her lips did. She held a small box awkwardly in her arms. "Sorry to bother you," she added. "I think I got one of your packages by accident." I took the box, noticing the rain on her sleeves. "Thanks," I said. She hesitated. "You, wouldn't happen to have a towel, would you?" I managed to walk right into the drizzle. Something about the way she said it, playful, like she knew it was an excuse, made me laugh. "Come in," I said. She stepped inside, shaking her hair loose, the scent of rain following her. For a moment, my quiet apartment felt different, brighter, alive. While she dried her hands with the kitchen towel, she looked around. "You live alone?" "Yeah. You?" "Same. First time on my own, actually." She smiled, half nervous, half proud. "It's weirdly peaceful, but also too quiet sometimes." I nodded. I knew that silence well, the kind that listens back. We talked longer than I meant to, about moving, about work, about the way the city always sounds like it's trying to fall asleep but never does. Her laugh came easy, and it made me want to find new ways to hear it again. At one point, she brushed a strand of hair from her face, and for a heartbeat, I forgot what I was saying. The movement was so simple, but it drew every bit of light toward her. "I should go unpack," she said finally, standing near the door. "Sure," I replied, but the word felt wrong, too final. She hesitated again, one hand on the handle. "Maybe, if you're free sometime, I could bring over coffee, or wine, if the week's bad." "Make it both," I said before I could stop myself. Her grin widened, quick, spontaneous, real. Deal. When the door closed, I stood there for a long time, holding the small box she'd brought. It wasn't the package that mattered. It was the space she'd left behind, filled with something I hadn't felt in a while. Not comfort, not even hope. Just the spark of maybe. She came over 2 nights later, just like she said. No text, no warning, just another knock, softer this time. When I opened the door, Maya stood there holding a bottle of wine in one hand and 2 paper cups in the other. "I didn't know if you had glasses," she said with a smile. "I do," I said, taking the cups anyway. "But this works." She walked in, barefoot this time, her hair tied up loosely, a few strands falling over her cheek. She looked around again, slower now, as if taking it all in. The lamplight made her skin glow warm and soft, and for a second, I forgot to breathe. We sat on the floor instead of the couch. It just felt easier, less formal, more like something that could last longer than it should. The rain outside had started again, light but constant, tapping against the window like background music. "I've been trying to unpack all week," she said, laughing, "but somehow I keep finding reasons not to." "Maybe you like chaos," I teased. "Maybe," she said, looking at me over the rim of her cup. "But this," she gestured around the room, "this feels calmer." We talked about everything and nothing, about the books stacked on my shelf, the plants that refused to stay alive, the reasons she moved here. "Needed space," she said. "And sun." There was something behind her words, a story she wasn't telling. I didn't ask. Sometimes you recognize the shape of a wound without needing to see it. As the night stretched on, the conversation thinned into silence. Not the awkward kind, the heavy, electric one. She traced circles on the floor with her fingertip. You ever feel like you've been waiting for something without knowing what it is? Her voice was soft, but the words landed deep. Every day, I said. Our eyes met. For a long time, neither of us looked away. The air shifted, not colder, not warmer, just charged, as if the whole room was holding its breath. She laughed then, quietly. I should go before this starts to feel like a movie. Too late, I said before I could stop myself. Maya tilted her head, a slow smile spreading, not playful this time, but something deeper. She stood, gathering her things, then paused by the door. Next time, she said, I'll bring real glasses. But she didn't leave immediately. Her hand rested on the frame, her other brushing a strand of hair from her neck. And in that small motion, I felt everything. The unspoken invitation, the pull, the fear, the want. For a second, she leaned closer, as if deciding whether to say something else, and then quietly, "Good night." When the door closed again, the silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt alive, breathing, waiting. I sat there for a while, the taste of cheap wine still on my lips, the echo of her laughter still hanging in the air. And I realized I wasn't waiting for something anymore. I was waiting for her. The next time she knocked, it was late, almost midnight. The hallway light behind her flickered, painting her in flashes of gold and shadow. Sorry, she said, breathless. The power's out in my apartment. I didn't know where else to go. I stepped aside without thinking. You're fine. Come in. The storm outside had grown heavier, thunder rolling low and distant. She wrapped her arms around herself as if to hold in the chill. I found a blanket, draped it over her shoulders. Our fingers brushed, a spark, small but undeniable. She sat on the couch, legs tucked under her, the blanket slipping slightly off one shoulder. The candlelight flickered across her skin, soft and uneven, like it was learning her shape. I feel like the universe is trying to make me stay here, she said with a half smile. Maybe it knows something we don't. She laughed quietly, her eyes finding mine. You always say things like that, like you're trying not to mean them, but you do. I didn't answer. I couldn't. There are moments when words would only get in the way. The storm deepened. Rain hammered against the window, filling the room with a rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat. Maya shifted closer. Not much, just enough that the edge of the blanket brushed my arm. We sat like that for a long time, the silence thick and fragile. Every time I looked at her, she was already looking back. No one moved. The world didn't exist outside those walls. Then she reached for my hand. No hesitation, no pretense, just quiet certainty. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was steady. I don't know what this is, she said softly, but I don't want to pretend it's not happening. I turned my hand in hers, feeling the pulse beneath her skin. It's okay, I whispered. You don't have to name it. The air between us shifted again, slower this time, warmer. Her gaze lingered, sliding from my eyes to my lips, then back again. She didn't lean in. She waited. And that waiting, that single heartbeat of space, said everything. The trust, the fear, the need to be understood without explanation. When I finally closed that distance, it wasn't sudden. It was quiet, inevitable. A moment of surrender that didn't feel like giving in, but like coming home. Her forehead rested against mine, The candlelight flickered, catching in her eyes, turning them into tiny reflections of fire. She smiled, a small, trembling thing, and exhaled. "I'm not sure what tomorrow looks like," she whispered. "Then don't," I said. "Just stay." Outside, the rain began to fade, replaced by the low hum of the city waking from the storm. Inside, everything was still. Not empty, not uncertain, just full. The night didn't need more words. It was enough to be seen, to be known. And as the last candle burned low, I realized something simple and terrifying. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for life to begin. It already had.